Our gifts are meant to help us first and foremost. There is circumstances, and I think when I received this message, it wasn't so much so I was getting this energy of you not being helped by your gifts. And I could specifically be speaking to some people who this message resonates with. Um, what I was receiving more so is that some of us are using our gifts for the wrong reasons. Some of us may be using our gifts, and our gifts may be serving the wrong purpose, the wrong entities. And we may or may not be conscious of that. And some of us may be somewhat conscious of it and choose to be passive about it. Some of us may be very, very clear that those gifts are being used by the wrong sources. What do I mean by that? Okay. What do I mean by that? That means that oftentimes we take on tasks where we are hired by people or we get contracted to do certain things because of our abilities. And those contracts are not necessarily high vibrational. Those contracts or those tasks, the jobs that we are assigned to, many a times they come with a price that we may not be aware of. A lot of times we're not aware of them. Sometimes we think that we're just, we're signing up for a job, or we've been contracted to do this X, Y, and Z, and we're not fully aware of what is involved in this contractual agreement. Whether it is a job, whatever kind of job it is that you're being paid for, or not paid for, to use your gifts. Many a times we're not completely clear on the purpose that it's serving. Okay? Many a times we're not completely clear on that. And I think sometimes it's a lot easier to take on those contracts. For many of us, it could be easier to take on those contracts because we're not really sure that there is another way, right? We're not sure that there is another way to fulfill our purpose, to use our gifts. And so it's like someone comes along and they're like, oh, okay, I can hire you to do X, Y, and Z. Or sometimes it's the other case where you're the one doing the hiring. You're hiring someone because you believe that someone has a gift. Yet is that contractual agreement, is it of high vibrational energy? Is it serving a higher purpose, if that makes sense? So we don't always dig into, the ins and outs of those contractual agreements. And perhaps it's time that we do. And I'm going to give an example. Okay. You could be someone who is, you're excellent working with children, right? You have this gift or this ability of being able to connect on a level, and you love working with children and you love helping children. And so you decide that this is a gift that you've been given to be able to assist and support, children. And you apply to an organization not fully being aware of the ins and outs of that organization. And please keep in mind, I'm not speaking about a specific organization right now. I'm really more so focused on the fact that a lot of times when we take on these contracts, whether it is us, giving service or receiving service, based on certain gifts, it's important that we do some background work, because again, what I was hearing before coming on is your gift serving the right purpose? A lot of times the gifts are not serving the right purpose. And it's not serving a purpose. It may not be serving the right purpose for you based on who you say you are. Okay? Based on who you say you are as a person. You claim to be a light being, a star seed, and this, that, and the third, right? Yet, we also must be aware that not every contract is a high vibrational one. Okay? Not every contract is a high vibrational one. So going back to that example, right? So you have this gift of working with children and you decide to, work with or contract with an organization that supposedly helps, children. And you have not done the background work to know who these people are. And your thing is just now you're getting to use your gift, okay? You're getting paid for it, or, someone's paying you. Yet the purpose is not necessarily in alignment with who you are. And many times you may or may not know that based on the research that you've done. It's essential that we do research with anyone we choose to work with, y'all. And I feel like that's part of where Spirit is going. It's important that we do research on who we choose to work with, who we choose to devote time and energy to, or with. Okay, whoever it is that you choose to have a contractual agreement with. It's essential that we do background work on who these people are. And whether or not it's in agreement with who you are, it's important. And it's almost like you have some sort of like soul contract, right? You came on this planet as a starseed, a light being, and you say that this is what you've chosen to do. Like, this is who you are. Yet the work that you are doing, or the people that you're working with, their energy and what they stand for may not be in alignment with your purpose. And I feel like part of that is a lot of times, we can kind of, it's like we can kind of go backwards in essence, if that makes any sense. We can kind of go backwards if we are not careful of who we choose to have these contractual agreements with. And I can give you a personal example of mine. I have been in positions where I have left, or I chose not to continue or move forward with certain positions, because once it became very clear to me who I was dealing with, what I was dealing with, it's almost like my soul it wouldn't allow me to move forward, with whoever it is. What would have been the ideal, okay? So I'm going to give you a specific example of me being a teacher, okay? I received a teaching position, a very, well-paying teaching position. And I was contracted to work at a university. And I was getting paid really, really, I was getting paid really well. Until I actually found out what kind of work climate it was. Little by little, I eventually began finding out what kind of work climate I had, started working in. And on the surface, it seemed like it was all good and well until you start learning more about the work climate. And it was just like, whoa, like there was something spiritually that was not allowing me to stay in that space. And many a times we disregard those intuitive nudges. Okay? We receive information from our spirit guides that tell us clearly that this ain't for you. I know this pays well. I know this pays very well, but this ain't for you. We've received nudges like that. Yeah, we continue, to ignore them because we're like, listen, oh, okay, whatever that, oh, you say that's an intuitive nudge. Listen, them bills got to be paid. This got to be paid. This got to be paid. So essentially, it's like, what are we giving precedence to? What are we serving? The almighty, coin? Or are we serving our highest purpose? Again, let me repeat that. Are you serving material possessions or are you serving your highest purpose?